In the scorching sands of Egypt, where the legacy of ancient pharaohs still whispers through time, a man was born destined to push the limits of the human body and etch his name into the history of professional bodybuilding. Nasser El Sonbaty, with his towering strength and magnetic presence, was more than just an athlete. He was a living masterpiece, shaped by relentless determination and sacrifices few could comprehend. But what happens when the quest for physical perfection comes at a price even the mightiest can't escape? Nasser El Sonbaty's story began under the scorching sun of Egypt, where endless deserts stretched beyond the horizon, and the legacy of ancient pharaohs lingered in the whispers of history. Even as a boy, there was something different about him, an inner strength that set him apart. But like many others, Nasser's destiny would take him far from the land of his ancestors. When he was still young, his family moved to Germany, seeking opportunities in a world that promised more than the sands of his homeland. Yet, with that promise came challenges, especially for a boy straddling two vastly different cultures. In Germany, Nasser stood out, and not just because of his appearance. He was tall, broad, and powerful even as a teenager, traits that made him both unique and a target. Fitting in wasn't easy, but it was in a small, unassuming gym that Nasser found his purpose. Surrounded by the clanging of weights and the grit of determination, he began sculpting his body with the kind of focus that would one day make him a legend. Each lift, each rep, was more than exercise. It was a declaration. His body became his canvas, and with every session, he inched closer to his vision of perfection. Bodybuilding wasn't just a sport to Nasser, it was a calling. The gym became his sanctuary, and the weights were his tools for transformation. Early on, it was clear he was no ordinary athlete. He had a drive that set him apart, pushing himself to the brink and beyond. His progress was undeniable, and his hunger for greatness was palpable. He wasn't just building muscle, he was crafting a legacy. The 1990s were a golden era for bodybuilding, where stages were dominated by massive, chiseled competitors vying for the ultimate title. Nasser entered this arena, determined not just to compete but to stand out. And he did. With a blend of sheer size and refined aesthetics, he quickly became a force to be reckoned with. At 5 feet 11 inches and over 300 pounds of muscle in competition shape, he was an undeniable presence. But it wasn't just his size, it was the way he carried himself, commanding, confident, larger than life. Nasser wasn't just another bodybuilder, he was an artist, creating a masterpiece out of his physique. Competing in the open division was like stepping into a gladiator arena. The stakes were sky high, and the competition was brutal, but Nasser thrived under pressure. He faced each challenge head-on, knowing that his relentless work ethic would carry him through. His career was filled with unforgettable performances, but none stood out more than his second-place finish at the 1997 Mr. Olympia, the pinnacle of bodybuilding competitions. For many, Nasser deserved the win that night. His physique was a blend of raw power and flawless symmetry, a combination few could achieve. Though the title eluded him, his status as one of the greats was cemented. Beyond his physical prowess, Nasser was known for his intellect. Fluent in 6 languages, he was a rarity in a sport often associated solely with brute strength. Backstage, fellow competitors called him the Professor, a nod to his sharp mind and deep understanding of the sport. He wasn't just lifting weights, he was mastering his craft. This duality, brains and brawn, made him a fascinating figure, admired and respected by peers and fans alike. But the bright lights of the stage often masked the harsh realities behind the scenes. Nasser's pursuit of perfection came at a steep cost. His daily routine was grueling, starting before dawn with intense cardio sessions. His meals were meticulously measured, every gram of protein, carbohydrate, and fat calculated with precision. And his weightlifting sessions were legendary, pushing the limits of human endurance. To outsiders, it seemed superhuman, but for Nasser, it was simply what had to be done. In bodybuilding, the competition isn't just against others, it's against your own body. Nasser knew that reaching the level he aspired to required going beyond natural limits. He was candid about his use of anabolic substances, acknowledging the widespread, though often unspoken, reality of the sport. To him, it was a necessary sacrifice in a world where size and definition ruled. He understood the risks, but believed the rewards were worth it. Still, he carried the weight of those decisions, fully aware of the toll they could take. Despite the pressures and sacrifices, Nasser never lost touch with his roots. He spoke proudly of his Egyptian heritage, often likening his journey to that of the ancient pharaohs who built empires with vision and determination. To him, stepping on stage wasn't just about personal achievement, it was about representing something greater. He wanted to show the world that greatness could come from humble beginnings, and that with enough grit, anything was possible. Of course, success came with its critics. Some said he was too big, while others argued his style was too calculated, lacking the raw emotion they expected. But Nasser never let the noise distract him. He saw criticism as part of the journey, and used it to fuel his relentless drive for improvement. He was a perfectionist, unwilling to settle for anything less than excellence. Nasser El Sonbaty's journey in bodybuilding was about more than muscles and trophies. It was about dedication, overcoming adversity, and striving for greatness. He understood that true legacy wasn't in the medals, but in the inspiration he left behind. And looking back at all he accomplished, it's clear he achieved exactly that, a legend whose impact lives on in the hearts of those who witnessed his extraordinary life. As the years passed, Nasser El Sonbaty began to feel the shadows that accompanied the brilliance of his legendary career. He had always known that the pursuit of perfection in bodybuilding was a double-edged sword, but like any man driven by relentless ambition, he chose to ignore the risks in favor of greatness. For most of his life, his body had been both his weapon and his temple, a finely tuned machine built for competition and admiration. Yet behind the sculpted muscles, the first signs of wear and tear started to emerge. The intensity that brought him to the top came with a heavy price. The physical toll was evident to those who knew him well, but Nasser, a true gladiator, masked the pain with determination. He was known for his almost superhuman resilience, yet deep down, he knew something was wrong. Sleepless nights grew longer, training sessions became more exhausting, and aches that used to fade now lingered. Even so, he refused to slow down. Nasser believed that success demanded sacrifice, and if pain was part of the process, he embraced it as a necessary companion on his journey. While continuing to compete and inspire crowds, Nasser began to feel the cumulative effects of a life lived at full throttle: grueling training, extreme diets, and the chemical aids that had helped him achieve his towering goals. He was never one to shy away from the realities of competitive bodybuilding, speaking openly about the ethical and physical dilemmas within the sport. To him, honesty was important for his fans, but at the same time, it was impossible for him to turn away from the passion that defined his life. Bodybuilding was not just his profession, it was his identity. Every competition was another chance to prove himself, to show the world he still belonged among the elite. Even as his results began to fluctuate and younger talents entered the spotlight, Nasser climbed back onto the stage with the same resolve that had defined him from the start. He knew time wasn't on his side, but he refused to let that dictate how his story would end. Behind the scenes, however, the battles were becoming harder. He dealt with mounting health issues, from chronic pain to complications that hinted at something more serious. His kidneys, overburdened from years of extreme supplementation and strict diets, began to falter. Heart problems also arose, a reflection of the relentless pressure his body had endured. Yet Nasser, ever determined, treated these struggles as mere obstacles to overcome. To the public, Nasser never let his internal battles show. At seminars and events, he continued to inspire others with his story. Fans gathered to hear his words and admire the man who, despite everything, seemed unbreakable. He spoke with disarming honesty, sharing not just the triumphs, but also the sacrifices of his career. To many, he was more than a bodybuilder. He was a symbol of strength, determination, and authenticity. As time went on, however, Nasser's silent fight began to take its toll. He was no longer competing at his peak, but he remained active in the community he had helped shape, traveling the world and engaging with fans. His once flawless physique began to change. To some, it was simply a natural part of aging. To others, it was a stark reminder of the unseen costs of a sport that demands more than most bodies can endure. In 2013, the bodybuilding world was rocked by the news of his death. Nasser El Sonbaty, the Egyptian giant, who had dominated the stage in the 1990s, passed away at the age of 47 from kidney failure and heart complications. For many, his death was a shock. For others, it was an inevitable consequence of the extreme sacrifices he had made for his passion. Regardless, his loss was deeply felt by everyone who knew him, whether directly or through the impact of his career. The news sparked a wave of reflection throughout the bodybuilding community. Many began to question the limits of the pursuit of perfection, and the toll it takes on those who dare to push beyond them. Nasser's life became a powerful example of how far determination can take someone, but also of the price that comes with it. Despite the tragedy of his death, Nasser's legacy endures. He wasn't just a competitor, he was a storyteller, a man unafraid to share the harsh truths of his journey. To him, bodybuilding was about more than trophies and titles. It was a way to express himself, to challenge his limits, and to inspire others. Those who knew him remember his humanity, how he balanced physical strength with an intellectual sharpness and a magnetic personality. Above all, he was someone who believed in the possibility of transcending limits, even when it meant facing the impossible. His journey, filled with triumphs and struggles, continues to inspire not just bodybuilders, but anyone daring to dream big. Nasser El Sonbaty lived life with intensity, relentlessly chasing excellence in everything he did. He knew his path wouldn't be easy, but he never chose the simple road. His life was a story of overcoming, sacrifice, and passion, a testament to the greatness that can come from unwavering resolve. And though his time was cut short, the impact he left on bodybuilding and the lives of his fans remains a lasting tribute to a man who refused to be forgotten.